Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. First of all, thank you to this incredible TEDx organizing committee. Can we give them a round of applause? They've done an absolutely phenomenal job. Growing up with the resources that I had access to, I was more likely to succeed than fail. Now my children, growing up, are more likely to succeed than fail. But the children who grow up where I work in South Africa are most likely to live in poverty for their entire lives. See, this is not unusual. For most children, their birthplace will determine their future. And this inequality is unfortunately deep-rooted and entrenched into our society. But I actually think you guys are the best weapon we have to disrupt this. And I can see this today, and I can see it going on in the world as we look. Young people are best placed to identify the absurdities of the status quo that they inherited. Listen to our speakers today. Listen to Greta Thunberg talk to the UN. See, because my organization, Ubuntu Pathways, is out there trying to even up this playing field. But for me, I think it's important that I talk to you guys actually about the challenges and the difficulties that we have faced in getting to where we are today. Often our success stories, they get sugar-coated, and we don't actually go back and talk about how we got there. I have good news for you guys. I have seen a path to change. But I have bad news. It is long, and it is hard, and it doesn't always end up where you want it to be. That might seem pessimistic, but I am actually quite optimistic about our future. I just think if we are going to talk about making real fundamental changes, I'm going to have to tell you how it really is out there. As you heard, I lived in South Africa for 11 years, and I have worked there for 20 years. And I've seen some of the poorest places on earth. I've seen orphans living in dilapidated shacks, scared, afraid, alone. And as we listen to anthems like Bob Dylan's "The Times They Are Changing," we feel an identification with the desire to make change. Who could watch children suffer and not want to make change? But if we listen to the lyrics of these songs, we may think that the change is inevitable. And in truth, it is a lot more complicated and a lot harder than that. In my work, I have come face to face with three hard truths. First of all, change will not happen overnight. There is no hack to societal change. It is a multi-generational process, and you may live to see the start of it and never actually see the end of it. Number two, you will fail. Now, I won't say that you should go out and seek failure, but listen, don't worry, it will come find you. But if you embrace it, it will be the best teacher you've ever had in your life. Now listen, I know what you're thinking. Yes, even better than Mr. Gladys. And also, you cannot do it alone. Don't be discouraged by that. Be encouraged. What you get from the relationships that you find along the way will actually be the fuel that pushes you everywhere you need to go. Now, in my 2 decades of experience, change is not a straight line, it is a circle. We start with the problem. Now, this may be something that affects you directly as a human being. It may affect the people you love, or it just might be the thing that keeps you up all night because you can't stand to see this unjust inequality in the world. But it is the fire that will fuel you. And Nelson Mandela actually stated the problem well when he talked about South Africa. To be poor and black was normal. To be poor and white was a tragedy. Now, when we recognize these injustices, you might go out there and get started and get to work on making this change. And you will have hundreds, if not thousands of hours going at it and trying to make a difference. And here's the crazy thing. People are going to fight you. There will be resistance. The status quo is quite entrenched. And it's interesting because the spirit or motivation that caused you to reach out and help other humans is not the same one that trains you how to fight. But you're going to have to learn how to fight. And you're going to be weary because the nitty-gritty of these battles is overwhelming and tiring. And that's where we come to the most important aspect of this circle for me: persistence and resilience. This year, Ubuntu Pathways celebrated our 20-year anniversary. And I'm proud of our model, our community-driven model. I'm proud of our innovations. But I'm most proud of the fact that we have been resilient to all the challenges and all the failures and made it here this far. But here's the catch. So you get through, you put in all this work, you spend 20 years doing it, and then finally you have a model that works and you're making an impact. And then you wake up and realize that a new generation has come along and they're bringing ideas that disrupt the very status quo that you have built. And here's where the real strength comes in, because you need to let these new ideas in and work with them and make change together. And then the circle begins again. But as I said, you're going to face resistance. And the question is why? It's because, as I said, the status quo is deeply emotionally entrenched. And why is that? Because the future is uncertain. We can't control the future. It scares us. But yet, the past is nice. It's soothing because we can actually manipulate the memories of the past. Let's look at two of the most successful political slogans of today. Take back control. Make America great again. Politicians are amazing at making us wonder, what happened to our beautiful status quo? So we wonder, if we're fighting against this, how are we going to get a critical mass of people together to actually fight and do this with us? Well, I have a suggestion that's actually very close to my heart. It's an African ethos called Ubuntu. It means a person is a person through other people. It is about the interconnectivity between us all. It doesn't matter where we come from, our race, our gender, anything about us. Because we are human, we are connected. And I've actually seen this in action. Because in 1999, a young alumnus of the esteemed American School of London went down to South Africa, and he met a school teacher there, and they founded Ubuntu Pathways in the broom closet of an impoverished school there. And their relationship and their meeting, of course, transformed their lives. But maybe more importantly, the web of relationships that have come from that have transformed thousands of lives. And I know because I'm one of them. See, I've known Jake since I was 3 years old. We grew up together in New Jersey, and we stayed in touch when he came to London, and then when he went to South Africa. And as I graduated graduate school, he asked myself and my girlfriend to go down and volunteer for 6 months. We ended up staying for 11 years. We went to help a friend, but we stayed because we found a group of people who were dedicated to proving that the status quo was absurd, and dedicated to proving that one's birthplace did not have to determine their future. I encourage you to, I'm gonna slide ahead. I encourage you to form these relationships and keep these relationships, because relationships can bridge an impossible divide. And the data actually backs this up. In 1938, at Harvard University, they started a study following 268 college sophomores. And it was a long-term, longitudinal study where they tracked all kinds of data about their lives. And at some point, a professor named Robert Waldinger took over the study. And eventually, he presented his findings. And what he found was remarkable, that more than anything else, any other variable in these people's lives, class, IQ, genes, close relationships was the strongest connecting factor to happiness and longevity. He found, and they found, that these relationships actually protected people from mental and physical decay. That these were the driving forces for happiness. So what we realize is that loneliness is actually toxic in both personal life and social development. And I encourage you to make these because you will fail along the way, and Ubuntu has failed along the way. There have been many setbacks, but I want to talk about one in particular. When we started Ubuntu, apartheid was ending. Freedom was coming to the country. Opportunity abounded, and we were excited. All of us on the Ubuntu executive had either gone to university or believed earnestly in the power of university, and we thought, hey, let's find talented young people and get them into university. So what's the answer? Scholarships. So we went and gave out scholarships. Now, I can introduce you to a bunch of people who got scholarship in those early days and are now doctors, business people, lawyers, leaders in their community. But unfortunately, I can introduce you to many more who failed because our solution was too narrow. We failed to consider that these young people whose schools had been developed under the apartheid regime could have been in no way prepared properly academically or otherwise for university. Let me put it to you this way. You guys, or my children, when you show up first day of school, you're going to get to your dorm room, you're going to unpack, you're going to take out your laptop, your speakers, your nice clothes, you're going to start chatting with your dorm mates about shared experiences. These young people grew up in makeshift shacks. They had really never been out of the township. Maybe they had never gone out to dinner before. Many failed before their first day. And this failure crushed the community at Ubuntu. Because not only we failed, we had built hopes up to a high level and then seen them drop down. We had seen this failure, and I'll tell you something. The temptation to give up was massive. But I'm proud of the resilience that we showed because it was never the money we raised or maybe some award we won that kept us going. But what we did do is we built a campus. And we built a model that we engineered based off of this failure. And instead of looking at just the point where we could provide opportunity, we went back and engineered a model that went from before birth, as we say, cradle to career, providing complete psychosocial, health, educational services in a world-class, multi-million-dollar campus in one of the poorest places in South Africa. And I'm excited about this resilience, and I'm excited about this impact. But if you need an even better story of resilience and Ubuntu, remember that Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison fighting the absurdities of the apartheid status quo. And I think he summarized this circle of change very well when he said, when you're finished climbing one great hill, there's just many more great hills to climb. But in 1994, he was released from prison, and he became the first black president of South Africa. So society does change, and even insurmountable obstacles can be overcome. But remember, it won't happen overnight. You will fail along the way, and you can't do it alone. But if you're still with me, let's go change the world.